December last year, we have also exchanged views on the preparations for the third Russia-Africa summit. The first two summits took place in 2019 and 2023, and the third summit will take place in this autumn. We have shared our assessment on the state of affairs in the Middle East in the context of the armed aggression of the U.S. and Israel against Iran, of course, also in the context of the deep crisis that the Palestinian matter has found itself in, and we don't see any light at the end of the tunnel, and we want to draw the attention of the UN Security Council to this matter. We've also noted the importance of an immediate cessation of any actions in the confrontation between the U.S. and Israel and Iran, any actions that incur damage to the civilians and the civilian infrastructure. At the request of our friends, we have told them about the current state of affairs in the Ukrainian conflict settlement. We reaffirmed our commitment to all the agreements that were reached earlier during the process of the political settlement and during the process of attempting to reach the settlement. Regrettably, the agreements that Russia has been committed to since 2022 up until the current year have been sabotaged by the Ukrainian side. His Excellency expressed concern for the future of Kenyan citizens in the with regard to the reports on the participation of Kenyans in the special military operation. We understand this concern for their citizens that are coming from the Kenyan transferred immediately to the Ministry of Defense of the Russian Federation. Kenyan citizens like citizens of other states, take part in the special military operation on a voluntary basis in full accordance with the Russian legislation. It provides for early termination of the conflict. I'd like to underscore that the Russian Ministry of Defense can deal with all these questions, can solve them. I think that today's talks have proved to be very useful, and it's our pleasure that His Excellency headed a high-profile delegation that esteemed representatives of the Parliament of Kenya and Kenyan members of Parliament are about to have contacts with members of the State Duma of the Russian Federation, which will give a new impetus to Russian-Kenyan interparliamentary ties, which have good history and good prospects. Thank you very much, and the floor is yours.
Minister Sergei Lavrov. First of all, let me say on behalf of the Kenyan delegation that we are pleased to have this conversation, very intense and very productive. And we believe that through this kind of to build on a very strong relationship. Just for the record, it's important for us to reiterate that Kenya and Russia enlisted through the Department of Defense or Ministry of Defense here, they'll no longer be eligible for enlisting in the special operations, and we want to appreciate that. Through the Defense Ministry, the consular services will also be arraigned so that the Kenyans who may be requiring assistance or visitation in hospitals can be facilitated through the proper diplomatic channels as laid down by the law to be able to work on that. And ladies and gentlemen, I just wanted to also make clear that we do not want for any reason our partnership with from the lenses of the special operations agenda only. That is an incident. The relationship between Kenya and Russia is much more broader than that. And therefore, as we resolve the concerns that were being expressed by Kenyan families in Nairobi, we believe that we have now found common ground so that there will be no further enlisting in this engagement. Now, I want to underscore that His Excellency has brought out very important issues. One on the peace and security in the region. The world has got a lot of conflicts, and the one that is really devastating for us at the moment is the Middle East crisis, where supply chains for fuel and other essential products is being severely affected, and Russia being a member of the P5, I think their voice would be very, very important in helping to mitigate some of these conflicts that we see that are having devastating effects in different parts of the African continent. We welcome the continued interest in Russia and Africa, and the third round of this engagement shall be in October here in Moscow, and the strengthening of partnership with the regional economic blocs like the East African Community, COMESA, are very, very important to enable Africa actualize rapid growth in terms of trade and integration in accordance with the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, which is an initiative that the President of Kenya, William Ruto, is championing on behalf of the African Union. So this integration and this cooperation between Russia and the African Union and the regional economic blocs becomes very, very essential in fostering this development. Kenya, since independence, has had over 3,500 individuals benefit from the support program under the education sector in Russia. And as we speak today, there are 70 Kenyans benefiting from scholarships, and His Excellency has graciously agreed that the government of Russia is ready and prepared to increase those opportunities for Kenyans to benefit in terms of the scholarship arrangements. We want to see broader investment in Africa, and I speak specifically for Kenya. We would be happy to start conversations on various sectors, the bilateral air services agreement, which would facilitate quicker movement. Kenya today receives about 9 supporters of strong multilateral institutions, and therefore we welcome the message about the need to strengthen the United Nations and the presence of African countries within the framework of the United Nations as proposed or as mentioned by His Excellency. In terms of peace and security and cooperation, we have always cooperated with Russia, and we intend to continue doing so. One of the challenges we face globally is terrorism, because this requires multiple efforts to fight terrorism, and we are ready to work together also in this sphere. In matters of technology, Russia is strong on nuclear technology. We want to expand our energy capacity, and these are the areas that we believe going forward we should be able to partner very strongly. Strong in agriculture, the fertilizer. The balance of trade is very little between our two countries as we speak, in favor of Russia, but the volume in itself, we can expand it because it's just about 500 to 600 million US dollars. That's the volume of trade, but we believe there's an opportunity. We also believe in the area of agriculture. We can, where we have a fairly we can accelerate between our two countries. But more important, I think if I were to really help the Kenyan not now be enlisted operation arrangements. Thank you.
Уважаемые коллеги, переходим к вопросу. Distinguished colleagues, now we proceed to the questions to the citizen Kenya.
My name is Emmanuel Cho from the Kenya. How many Kenyans have been enlisted into the Russian Special Operation Forces so far? How are they enlisted? What was the process? And will the Federation repatriate Kenyans back home? And will they be compensated according to that plan as well? And lastly, how many Kenyans have been held as prisoners of war in Ukraine? Thank you.
You asked the question that I have commented on already, and I was very clear. Defense and our Kenyan friends today, they've heard this information, and they will do everything possible so that Ministry of Defense of Kenya communicate the Ministry of Defense of Russia in this regard. All Kenyans, as well as many citizens of other states who signed contracts in order to participate in the special military operation, they did it on a voluntary basis. Contracts provide that as soon as the contract terminates, no repatriation is needed. This person is no longer bound by any contract, and they may do whatever they want. What is more, when the contract is effective, a Kenyan citizen or any other citizen, they can terminate this contract due to some reasons, and there is a specific procedure to make this possible, but this should be done within the Ministry of Defense. If you will know the fate participate in the battle, in the struggle against nazism and colonialism. I do not rule out that some people might enjoy that today we here at the level of the foreign ministers made this issue from our mass media is this topic. As the minister made it very clear that it is extremely important to take care of the citizens, and we do share this approach. This topic is of paramount importance. Russian-Kenyan agenda. These relations have a very rich history of common fight for justice, and unfortunately this fight has not yet been successful. And today we are on the right side of the history with Kenya. Sputnik Agency, over to you.
For His Excellency Minister Mudavadi. Your Excellency, with Russia's active support, the United Nations General Assembly adopted recently a resolution establishing International Day Against Colonialism. So what does this in what forms does neocolonialism manifest itself today?
Well, I think it's a very important resolution for us not to lose sight of the challenges that come with colonialism. So, as I said, we got independence 63 years ago as Kenya, and Russia was one of the early countries to recognize our independent status. So that is very important, because colonialism symbolizes suppression, violation of human rights, interference with the economic well-being of individuals in different countries. So for us to have an occasion that shows respect for independence and freedom is absolutely essential. Now, colonialism, or the aspects of it, can be manifest in many ways. As we said, it can be in the form of direct subjugation, denial of political rights, but it can also manifest in suppression of economic opportunity to people or to nations. So we see this as something that is very important, and we appreciate that there's that resolution. Perhaps very differently, just to emphasize that, if I may just go back a little bit to the question to underpin what the minister said, and I'm coming back to this because it has been causing a lot of distress in Kenya, is just to say that our focus is to make sure that we can resolve that particular aspect diplomatically, and to make sure that like here, it's voluntary, it's done, which is okay. And therefore, it's under our laws. The penal code is also illegal for Kenyans to participate in a process that is diplomatic approach. We are now finding a proper solution. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And the second question regarding the situation in the Middle East. Recently, the daughter of former Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi reminded Iran of Libya's fate, saying that her father trusted Western promises and the country was later devastated. So from your perspective, what lessons should countries take from the Libyan case, and what would you advise Iran?
Whether I have the capacity to advise under such circumstances, but I think let me refrain from making my comment on this particular issue.
Thank you.
Следующее. We are moving forward. KTM, please, over to you.
My name is Francis Ontoma from the Standard Media Group, Kenya. Beyond the front lines, Your Excellency, there are allegations that some Kenyans are working at a drone-making factory, Alubaga. Part of the people who will be assisted to go back home. My second question, why did the Russian Federation decide to recruit
Russia never decides to recruit anyone. As it is the case with the participation in the special military operation, volunteers, they are those who join the special military operation fully in line with the Russian legislation. Having heard that this is a reason for concern for our Kenyan friends, we decided how the things should be done directly between the two ministries of defense when it comes to labor migrants. This is also this is a work that can be carried out on a voluntary basis, and I believe that no can prevent the citizens of their country to look for a job where this work is in place, where those job positions are in place. And your question why we decided to recruit labor personnel in Africa is strange. We do not recruit them. We respond to requests. There are labor migrants from China, from India, from other Asian states. And of course, the Central Asian citizens, our former partners in terms of one single state, the Soviet Union, and this all is happening first and foremost on the basis of the interest these citizens demonstrate in terms of work and job places, job positions which are abound in Russia. I don't think it will be a great secret, but His Excellency Minister demonstrated interest to sign an agreement on labor migration between our two states so that job positions can be provided for Russia partner states so that it can become a routine procedure, and this is what we will be doing.
Next question, RT channel. That very channel that has employed a lot of citizens from many countries of the world. Thank you very much. My name is Kasat Mukamat. Mr. Lavrov, Moscow is ready to act as a mediator to reach a peace settlement of the conflict in the Middle East. What risks are there for the global security if the hostilities continue? And how can they impact the stability of energy markets in the world? Thank you. Do I understand it correctly that by saying the conflict in the Middle East, you mean the situation around Iran and the Persian Gulf? Yes, correct. I'd like to make a comment. Earlier, when they used to say the Middle East, they meant Palestine and the establishment of a Palestinian state in accordance with the UN decisions that have been sabotaged directly and openly by certain states, and they're saying that no Palestinian state will ever emerge. Now that we see the aggression, the armed aggression of the US and Israel against the Islamic Republic of Iran, it's saying about the conflict in the Middle East, but Palestine is not meant here. Everyone has forgotten about Palestine and the matters around it. I think that it will be a significant blow to the standing of the international standing of the United Nations, first and foremost. And I think that everyone, and primarily the countries of the region, the Arab states, these states should realize their responsibility, and we want to this approach so that the United States are held liable for their decisions. As far as Iran goes, our stance is well known. We have outlined it in various statements and will continue giving statements to the situation. This is an unprovoked aggression. An act of aggression that could not be responded to. Those who planned to deliver a blow to Iran at the height of the negotiations, like it happened in June last year, they thought maybe that within days they will reach their goals to subjugate this country completely. Perhaps now they realize how wrong they were. And of course, Iran is defending itself. It responds, retaliates to the aggression by delivering military infrastructure of the countries that attacked it in the first place. And it is to our regret that the countries of the Gulf Cooperation Council are also severely affected. One should, of course, end hostilities and start negotiations if there is still trust in the effectiveness of the talks. But the most serious matter on the agenda is the following. One has to ensure that all the participants of this crisis situations hold the actions affecting the civilian infrastructure and killing civilians, both in the Gulf countries and in the Islamic Republic of Iran. To my mind, it is something that should be done immediately. It is an urgent matter, and we will be cooperating with other reasonable states to promote this approach on the international arena. As far as the future of the conflict goes, well, it's difficult to say. Recently, the US President, Donald Trump, and I am quoting him, said Iran has been completely destroyed, and the representative of the IDF says the other day we have thousands of targets ahead of us, and we will be working towards reaching these goals at least for another week until Pesach. It's hard to forecast how this crisis will unfold if we don't listen to the reason and do not hold the hostilities, and if we do not start negotiating. And I hope this time these talks will not be obstructed by anyone. And Iran needs the guarantees, the security guarantees. Now everyone is talking about the Strait of Hormuz. Macron was saying that he called President of Iran, Pezeshkian, to secure the safety of navigation in this strait, but no one cares about the navigation in the Mediterranean Sea, in the terrorists attacked tankers. One of them, Meta gas, is adrift, is drifting and is about to flounder in the Mediterranean Sea. A Greek tanker was recently attacked in the Black Sea as well. The infrastructure, the gas infrastructure, the Blue Stream and the Turk Stream are also being attacked. And of course, the situation around the Strait of Hormuz is very complex in the context of the threats. The Bab el-Mandeb is also be blocked on the part of Ansar Allah. And of course, those who are engaged in terrorizing the energy infrastructure against hydro themselves. But you can see what the repercussions are. I started talking about the situation around Iran, but these repercussions go beyond the borders of the region, and they'll be affecting the whole globe. Together with our single-minded partners, we voicing support for the immediate cessation of hostilities and diplomatic settlement. Russian President Vladimir Putin has multiple times said that Russia could act as a mediator if it's... We believe that we have such opportunities, such capacities. When the U.S. is saying that their main goal is to capture more than 400 kilograms of enriched uranium, of any level of enrichment for that matter, if that's what interests them, we're not talking about their readiness to engage in negotiations or to avail themselves of good services of the Russian Federation, like it happened in 2015 when the agreement on the Iranian nuclear program was agreed upon and adopted at the UN Security Council. It seems like the US just want to take this energy resource, like they want to take over all the resources, all hydrocarbons, be it in Latin America, in the Caribbean, in the Persian Gulf, or in any other part of the world. And the last question, Zvezda channel. Well, thank you very much. My name is Oleg Milobresky. Mr. Lavrov, one can say that once a very good interview to the German newspaper of energy blackmail, and then unambiguously said that Serbia will resume its export of the arms. During the summer, we saw a scandal, then the the Foreign Intelligence Service said that Serbian weapons, German newspaper, as you said. But the fact that Serbian weapons somehow get to the regime of we've received this information. The Foreign Intelligence Service has published this information. We've talked to our Serbian colleagues and we reached understandings in this regard, and we believe that these understandings still stand. These are some indirect references. I have not seen this interview, but we believe that we are now basing our actions on the agreements reached earlier. President Vučić said that he could not make redundant the personnel of defense factories, and he cannot deny selling weapons to third countries. He cannot guarantee where they would end up. But we believe that we should be acting on the basis of the understandings that we reached with Serbians.
Given that this question has to do with the Ukrainian conflict, where the most aggressive proponent and the sponsor of Kiev is the European Union, I cannot but mention the position of Serbia regarding the so-called European prospects. President Vucic has repeatedly mentioned that their commitment to this European prospect is still in place, and in the context with our friends for a long time. It is a very long-standing history because Serbia, not for the first year and not for the last year, is a candidate for entering the European Union. We wondered whether they had made this course irreversible, and if you did, what are you to do with the two ultimatums put forward from the European Union before you join the European Union? First, recognizing the independence of Kosovo, and second, fully align yourself with the European Union policy in terms of foreign policy and international security, including joining the anti-Russia. And the issue is still relevant. In the bureaucracy in Brussels, they understand it clearly that Serbia found itself in a challenging situation. Bureaucratic structures in Brussels make a demand to support the policy of Serbia, and first and foremost they mean joining the war against Ukraine, and I have no doubt in this regard, but let me reiterate that the understanding reached by our Serbian friends is still there. My second question was about negotiators from Europe. Dmitry Peskov has already commented on the matter on these leaks, and he referred that a representative from France came. It is so, indeed, but he came with no new agenda, and Dmitry Peskov was clear about that. He said nothing that had not been voiced publicly from Paris. Besides, France requested such a contact, and they also included a suggestion that this contact remains confidential. And eventually, they released this information, they made it public, in order to demonstrate that Europe is doing everything possible and it is being prevented from the negotiations. Europe used to be the main negotiator beginning from 2014 when tensions in Maidan were diffused, thanks to the agreement signed by then-President Yanukovych and the opposition. And the guarantors of those agreements were the members of the European Union, France, Germany, Poland. And when the other morning the opposition trampled upon this agreement and seized the governmental building, also started a hunt against the president of Ukraine, when we addressed an appeal towards Europeans in order to bring the opposition to its senses, they just shrugged their shoulders and said that those were the collateral costs of democracy. And now they still say that those were democratic processes happen. Sometimes they get bloody. It happens, and back then the European Union was a negotiator on an equal basis, and it failed. Second time, the European Union played its role when the Chancellor of Germany, Merkel, the President of France, Hollande, in February 2015, signed together with President Putin and President Poroshenko Minsk Accords, and they showcased it as their mediator achievement of Berlin and Paris on behalf of the whole European Union. They did all of this, and this was done by Merkel, Hollande, and Poroshenko. They did this only to recognize later that they were not going to respect them despite their previous approval of the United Nations Security Council. They wanted to buy time in order to arm Ukraine up to its teeth. Now they call it a steel or iron porcupine, and many such metaphors and many such types of behavior. But the second time, they didn't really had a change. They had a real agreement. And lately, the settlement could happen in April 2022. If it not had been for the interference of Boris Johnson and European Union politicians, they dissuaded Kiev from the agreement that had already been initialed and supported by Ukraine itself. It means that European Union has absolutely, completely and utterly undermined its credibility. And when listening to statements made by representatives from considered in a constructive manner with the hope to hold. President Putin has repeatedly confirmed that we are committed to the negotiations and to the negotiation solutions, but the Kiev regime is not ready. That means that if the goals of special military operation on the ground, and this is happening. To conclude, let me add. Recently, European capitals and make some statements that, in essence, mean the following. The US, in contrast to the European Union, advance the need to find the solution of recognizing the realities of the liberation of the objectives of the special military operation. We understand that this is important for eliminating the root causes of the conflict, but the second reason is the Nazi regime in Kiev, and Europe is eager to preserve it. No matter how much territory remains for Ukraine, and this regime would continue hostile anti-Russian actions. They are going to establish some stabilization forces on its territory. In essence, that would mean that they will have occupation forces that would pose a direct threat to the Russian Federation. We mentioned all of this settlement that would preserve the Nazi regime that had banned the Russian language in all spheres, that had banned the history of the lands and the territories that ironically became, when he was asked a question about Crimea, he said that people in Crimea region beings, and they want to keep this man as a head of state. The state that at the will of the Western turned into a information is that the key sponsors are Germany and the this all reveals that Nazism is persistent in the minds of Europeans. France also betrays the ideas of General de Gaulle, and this is a very serious problem. This is not just what we say, let us stop here at the contact line and everything will be fine. No. This will not be. Here we end our press conference. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you.